and it disappeared as soon as it appeared. See, that's what you get when you neglect avoidance and you don't pay attention to your surroundings. That last attack was more than enough to deplete the cow's HP bar to 0, and for the moment out there its body dispersed into a vortex of red mist. However, the way that vortex of red mist behaved was different from the death animation and the damage effect that would accompany it. It was at that moment that my hypothesis turned into conviction. Chapter 352, Dragon, Part 17 Part 2. In short, the Great Red Devourer is the same kind of colony of monsters as the Crazy Blue is. Many different games tend to treat colonies of monsters in a slightly different ways, but the most common consensus is this: if you manage to defeat the main body of the colony, the mass-produced small fries produced by the main body should die on the spot alongside its creator. However, this game here is Shangri-La Frontier, and as we have all seen before, Shangri-La Frontier does not do compromises to almost creepy level. So I highly doubt that the developers of this game would give the raid monster such a crippling weakness, even if it was for the sake of appealing to the common consensus worked out by other games. That would simply be not their style. So, in other words, even if the colony as a whole is what we call the Great Red Devourer, each and every single one of those monsters it was throwing at us was a part of it. So even if it may not seem like so in the first place, every single one of those small fries has its own death judgment. A proof of that, the fact that upon defeating the small fries, the abilities of RIP were kicking into effect. Allow me to officially change my opinion of you, RIP. You are actually quite a decent weapon, I won't tell. So, due to the nature of the game that Shangri-La Frontier was, it is possible to maintain the maximum advantage against trade bosses as long as they come with small fries that aid them in battle. Yes, that's right. Just like right about now. Alright, who's next? Bring it on. It's still not enough. I can still keep going. As long as my overall kill score increases, the stats of RIP are going to keep on increasing. Even though leveling up to level 136 allowed me to increase my overall strength stat, I still needed some more kills here. About 10, no, about 6 or 7, I think. That should be enough. Now that I think about, if I were to crush that head flat, is it going to be added to the overall kill score? Let's find out. Oh, I know. The tail head. That one. Let's crush that one. I am yet to thank that thing for that laser from before, right? It's high time to give myself some more space here. Now, I know that dragons are reptiles here, but I surely hope that this tail is not actually going to grow back, isn't it? So after making a short work of the red cow, I can finally resume my initial task of getting closer to the main body. Kurima's heavenly secret is off cooldown now, so I cast it again. Then I cast Limit Maximize, a skill that evolved from Riot Axel. Next on the list is Wolfate Sign, a skill that originates from Managaran Pride. Then I put on some finishing touches in form of both Atlas Toughness and Melodic Foot. I know other words. For a short while I am going to be super fast and super strong, but at the cost of having my HP reduced. Just like with powerful cars driving at the peak of their speed. But if there is no risk, there is no fun, so I don't mind that in the slightest. Let's go. Also, I must be wary of the tri-headed Tyranno's presence here, just to be on the safe side. I don't want anything to go wrong here just because I was not paying attention. And as usual, the tailhead of Great Red Devourer seemed to be all too eager to deal with me here. Okay, it's high time to get this show on the road. Too slow, too slow, too slow. In the end, lasers and bullets are just projectiles that travel in linear direction. So assuming that they won't be reflected or they will not ricochet off of anything, you can actually dodge them with minimal amounts of effort. And I have seen those attacks more than enough to be able to figure out what's what here. Knowing the patterns and nailing down your timing. It all comes to that. That is why I want to get rid of this thing as soon as possible. It is going to make the defenses of the main body slightly weaker, and it will surely power up the RIP with a good amount of firepower. So there is no reason for me to not try doing that. This is where the All-Spirit Awakening skill comes into play, a natural evolution of blood warfare. This skill basically allows the user to convert the amount of HP that was lost due to battle damage into raw stats, mainly strength, vitality, and agility. In other words, my current HP value sits at 80. So if I were to receive 79 points of damage, the value of 79 can be added to one of those stats, albeit for a limited amount of time. However, since the stat shows for upgraded values chosen attack, there is always a chance that you can be screwed over by shitty RNG. Also, the higher the stat boost, the shorter the effect is going to last. Alright, I got a boost for agility. Crimson light gently brushes against my left cheek. However, the damage effect is being converted into a skill on the spot, so momentary suffering was turned into even further boost in acceleration. My current HP was reduced by 1/5 with that attacks, and then the HP drops even further down thanks the effect of limit maximize. Thanks to all of that, 16 more points are added to my current agility stat, and I accelerate even further ahead. About 10 meters left until I reach my goal. It also seems that my coming so close to the main body raised my threat evaluation even higher. You fool. If you were to focus on me here and leave the tri-headed Tyranno unchecked, that would have been the very essence of utter foolishness. Hello there. The distance is already less than 5 meters. We are well within the attack range of one another, but I am the one who is faster here. A word of advice here, Great Red Devourer. So clean those ears and listen well. One moment. Smack. With that sound, I smash my right thumb against my chest. An attack skill that holds tremendous firepower, but at the cost of having overly long recast time. But now the recast time of this skill has been effectively cut in half as well. And in that instant, I activated several different skills and abilities that started to pile up on top of one another. The next moment, my avatar was already behind the Great Red Devourer, and there was a damage effect blooming all over the Great Devourer's body, as if it was being swallowed up by a huge explosion. Being able to produce so much power, this thrill is seriously way too dangerous. It's addicting. Speaking those words, I can feel that my mouth twisted in a smile behind the cover of the dark veil. This here is going to be the climax. However, you won't be able to witness it. You are going to die first. With that being said, I skewered the tail head of the red dragon, ripping it apart from the main body with the power of the 100th empowered strike. Of course, there was no way that the tail or the head would be able to withstand the overwhelming power of Eredville rebuild. Now then, I was always a rear guard here, but maybe I should try to
Here we go
for once and see how it goes. Chapter 353, Dragon, Part 18 Part 1. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Look, did you see that? Just take a look at that, Tottery Kun.
Minions have spawned. First blood.
I like it. No going back. What is that? Those moves. What kind of movement was that? Am I seeing things? Oh shit. This is bad. This is seriously on a completely different level. Right about now, Tottery was in quite the tough spot. Even though he was able to witness the whole spectacle that just took place right before his eyes, he was having trouble with actually understanding the events that just transpired. Or it was more like his mind was seriously refusing to acknowledge what just happened as truth and reality. It was just way too unreal. First of all, the fact that Sanraku was able to change his sex on the spot. No matter how you look at it, it was something taken straight out of a manga or an anime directed at little girls on Sunday mornings. And then there was that thing that came up right after that. Yet another transformation. But this time around it was not something taken straight out of the anime for little girls. Rather, it was a sight taken straight out of the anime aimed at adults, and emitted on TV late at night so that no child would watch it by accident. Okay, wait, so, it's like, he did all that just now so that he could get a tremendous boost in speed? Is that it? Ha 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 ha. Hi 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 hi. He ha he. Oh ouch, my stomach. My stomach hurts from laughing too much. As for Sanraku-kun, that's not actually right. Is correct, Tottery-kun. Still, that answer could not have possibly been further from the truth than it already was. That is why Deep Slaughter wanted to laugh even harder here. It's not that I know everything about it as well, so you might want to take my words with a grain of salt. But, if I had to take a wild guess here, he must have combined aerial jumps here with sudden vector changes. I heard that manipulating the physics engine like that is possible here. So, are we talking about combining skills such as Gravity Zero and Frit Float? Is that it? I don't know any else that would be able to give you the same effect. Well now, it might be this, or it might be, you know, some sort of a 3-digits skill that you acquire upon lifting new level cap, right? This speed boost is really tremendous, and I think that there are more ways than one in which you could explain it. In reality, there was at all. All that Sanraku did here was activating a whole bunch of his newly acquired skills that just happened to have a great amount of synergy with one another, on top of using the overflow effect of the Levin trigger, Disaster Hand. There was a huge variety of skills involved in that movement speed boost just now, but in truth, all of that would have been for naught if not for the single skill that happened to tie every other skill in that combination together, Hermes's boots. It was a very simple skill in what it did, but it was also really effective. That particular skill allowed its user to move in midair until a set amount of time would expire. What was the difference between Gravity Zero and Hermes's boots? With Gravity Zero, the direction of one's movements was determined by the orientation of the foothold that the player is currently touching. With Hermes's boots, there was no need for any kind of contact with any surface. The only thing that the player needed was to think of the direction they wanted to go and the skill would automatically do the rest. Then there is the Exceed Gravity skill. That skill reduces the effect of being shaky and unstable when traversing uneven surfaces. As it turns out, such effect could also be utilized in order to fight against gravitational problems and differences. And last but not least, the skill Sengoku Taikiri, a skill that managed to strengthen the firepower of other offensive skills such as Hecaton's Edge and Sharp Connection Point to their very limits. The overall effect of combining all of the above skills proved to be very efficient and at the same time very deadly. The more hits you managed to successfully land in a row during one combo, the higher the firepower of each consecutive attack, and the bigger the number of consecutive successful hits in the combo, the less stamina your next action would require. Next, there was the skill Dead Horizon. This particular skill strengthened the effects of the offensive skills every time its user's HP would fall below the threshold of 10% and go back up from that amount. It was a risky skill to have, but the rewards from it were simply too good to casually pass up. A skill that required to literally balance on the boundary between life and death. And then there was the skill Quantum Gaze. That skill allows its user to perceive their immediate surroundings at a hastened rate, and be able to perceive the lines that visualize the way and trajectories in which the enemies would attack you. a skill that could arguably bestow upon the player the ability to gaze into the future. The rest was actually pretty simple and straightforward. The only thing that Sanraku did was to run all over the Great Red Devourer's body at increased speed, a feat that was only available to him thanks to the ability to ignore the constraints of gravity, and chopped and slashed and stroked away at it, making its tail the end point of his 100-hit combo streak. You fufu. You fufafu. Fufafafafafafafafafu. You certainly look as though you are having fun here. Is that what it looks like to you? Then I guess if I look like that, it must be true that I indeed do feel that way. Including the attack skills on top of all the movement and support ones, Sanraku was able to activate at least 9 skills
It's
in
time
rapid
to
succession
battle.
without that much of a
to the point.
Minions have spawned.
Why? Because I can. I like it. No collision. Only fools hesitate. Never play safe. I made my choice. Why? Because I can.
Ace.
delay in between every single one of them. Needless to say, it was a feature that, under normal circumstances, should have been impossible to pull off, no matter how potent mind the player would have. However, if a human mind was indeed capable of pulling off such a wild and impossible stunt, it would be almost like Sanraku was able to deploy parallel multitasking in battle. He would be able to use a skill that divides the thoughts and actions as clearly as though they were pancakes. However, what Sanraku does here is not parallel multitasking. He does not separate thoughts from the actions. He was merely switching between different tasks at exceptionally high speed, all the while keeping track of what was going on around him and thinking about what needed to be done in a moment. It's a trick that allowed him to shorten the time in between casting individual skills to the maximum, but at this rate it would surely lead him into developing parallel multitasking in the future. Chapter 353 Part 2, Chapter 353, Dragon, Part 18 Part 2. It was exactly because of that Deep Slaughter was able to laugh like that right now. Or rather, she was not laughing at Sanraku, but at Tottery and his inability to grasp the true nature of the scene that played out right in front of their very eyes just now. When it comes to Tottery, looking for a possible explanation here, his mind was even going to simply dismiss this whole situation as a mere could it be that Sanraku is actually a fan of Deep Slaughter-san. Who would have thought? Just then, Tottery started to patch himself up in order to return to the front lines as soon as possible. And while he was doing just that, his eyes reflexively turned towards Sanraku once more. So, I just was on the neck of a tree, then? This is it, huh? The power of the player strong enough to take the unique monster's head on and emerging victorious from such grueling battles. Who knows? Not that I care about that in the first place. But I guess we will never truly know about that unless we ourselves face against a unique monster, don't you think? It's hard to call something relatable if you have no point that you can relate to, right? Well, when it comes to that, at least one thing they knew for sure here: if they ever wanted to challenge a unique monster in battle, it would be best for them to do so while having some sort of specialization up their sleeve, or maybe even over-specialization. Like maybe over-specialized mobility. Otherwise they could not even fathom how would they be able to oppose such strong enemies, possessing the strength of a natural cataclysm. In the distance, Sanraku would continue to dance around the Great Red Devourer with incredible speed, attacking the tail of the beast time after time. Needless to say, after being cut clean, the tail of the dragon regenerated instantly thanks to the swirl of red mist that came from the inside of the red tornado. Having a good feeling where this whole ordeal was going, Deep Slaughter started to rummage through her inventory, until she found what she was looking for, a small one that looked like nothing special, but there was something really ominous about it. Tottery have never actually seen the object in question itself, but there is a certain rumor circulating amongst the players who managed to attain the highest rank of the magic caster class, which is the sage profession. The description differed from person to person, with some people calling it a great staff, others calling it the reverse Mobius's strip, and others describing it as 5 floating monoliths that were orbiting around its wielder. However, even though this object in Deep Slaughter's hands was unlike any of those magnificent-sounding things, its aura was certainly something else. There was no way that this item was normal, and it surely must have been something unique. There was only one possible explanation for this thing, and it was then that Tottery silently uttered its name to himself. Realization came. The desire, oh my, Tottery-kun. Do you happen to know what this item is? That's strange, and here I was, making sure that this item would be tucked away at the very bottom of my inventory and that I would hardly ever use it. And when I would use it, it would usually be without any witnesses. Could you keep the existence?
friends close. Why? Because I can. To the point. Ready for trouble. No going back. Never play fair. Why? Because I can. Keep friends close and enemies guessing.
Of this item a secret? That would really help me out, you know? Eh? Really? So you're telling me that this thing really is that the desire? The cane of realization, the desire. It is a name that every player knows about, at least to some extent, but it is also true that it is more commonly known as the usurper. And even though those names are fairly well known, the name and the appearance of the one attributed with them are something that many people have no clue about. It was a reward for doing the unique quest Ultima Gear Desire, and the requirement for starting that quest was that the player had to obtain the rank of the Sage, the highest title possible for magic casters in the game. It was a quest which had the player go around the map, collecting ultimate magic fragments from various NPCs. The reward for that quest was that specific item, the Desire, also known as the Ultimate Magic Wand, for a specific amount of time. A whole lot of players were excited to underwent that quest and obtain the ultimate item like that. The craze for that item was so big that even the guild master of the guild Witchark, a guild consisting only of magic casters, offered a tremendous amount of money to whoever possessed the staff to part with it. However, the excitement regarding that item had burned away just as fast and hard as it was lit in the first place. But the thing that the leader of Witchark saw at the coordinates of the shrine where the wand was supposed to be located after her subordinates obtained all the ultimate magic fragments was not quite what she was expecting. It was the empty shrine with nothing but scrap in it, the magic wand gone for good. Ever since that day, there was a strict policy in Witchark that was not to be violated under any circumstances. They would accept every magic caster with normal wands and staffs, and the rarer ones was welcome as well. However, whoever would show up at their doorstep with the Desire in their hands, they would instantly get the boot. That's how deep the grudge was. I must say, for a moment out there it was a very tempting offer. So much money for a one item like that. I won't lie, I was about to sell it at one point, but... So, does that mean that Deeplezo-san really had an item like that? Yes. I guess that's right. A. B. But that person is not really a whim. He has both, that person. Trust me. I know what I'm saying. I have had a whole bunch of experience with people like that in the past before. At that exact moment, Totri thought that something both terrifyingly unique and uncomfortably shocking had been revealed to him. Then, Deep Slaughter brandished the Desire in her hands and started preparing the magic incantation. But there was something in her preparations that made Totri sweat nervously a whole lot. Alright, but for the time being let's just leave it at that. Say, Deep Slow-san, how should I put it? The thing is, about that spell of yours. Are you perhaps talking about Euro's Biblioanglemas? Yeah, that one. You said that it's the magic that changes enemies into meteorites and drops them down, right? How much radius does the attack like that have? How far do we need to stay away from it to not get caught up in the blast? If it was the kind of magic that required a special kind of catalyst to use, in this case an item such as the Desire, it was probably not some sort of range magic only. It must have been something even more powerful than that. At first Totri was even concerned about Sanroku's safety because of that very assumption. But after seeing just how quickly he could move around the battlefield, Totri was feeling stupid for even worrying about Sanroku in the first place. If that is indeed so, then what Totri should be doing here is pretty obvious. He and the people of the forest should evacuate from here immediately so that they would not get dragged into the crossfire here. Should it not have been obvious that it was nothing but a lie, changing the enemy into a meteorite? You fufu. You should have known that something like that is impossible to pull off. Huh? The demon women responsible for destroying the MMO in which you could create your own magic spells laughed at seeing my apparent confusion. Chapter 354, Dragon, Part 19 Part 1. Huh? Wait, just a freaking second, Deep Slow-san. What do you mean by that? So what you are telling me Everything that you said back
Minions
then was a
have
lie?
spawned.
Is that it? No, why would ever think that every single one of my words was a lie? The only lie I have told you all was that about the meteorite magic. Everything else is true. You will have to believe me on that. This sudden confession was like being hit with a sledgehammer straight to the face. Because of that confession, every major premise about this battle and their current strategy was now starting to fall into pieces. It was so shocking of a revelation that for a good moment or two Tottery just stood there and kept silent, unable to react in any kind of sensible way. Then, all of a sudden Tottery snapped out of it and approached Deep Slaughter, anger visible in his eyes. No, 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 no. Wait a moment. This isn't right. You cannot do this. How? How can you laugh in a situation like that? No, let's rephrase that. What the hell are you doing? What is this game that you play here? This Sanraku guy is giving this fight his very best out there, believing that a meteorite is going to come down and end it all. And that was my intention when I told that lie. Think about it for a moment. Wouldn't you want to give the fight your very best in this situation? When everything works against you but you keep on believing that a meteorite will come down and bring an end to this? Wouldn't that made you want to hold on and try harder than ever before? Why you? The way in which Tottery yelled at Deep Slaughter was so loud and so heated with emotions that you could have easily boiled water for the tea with it. Right after that, Tottery tried to get closer to Deep Slaughter. However, at that exact moment Deep Slaughter reached out her index finger towards Tottery, the same she put to her lips not so long ago, but this time around pressing it against Tottery's lips. SHH, please do try to calm down. It is unsightly for a man to overreact in such a way. So let's calm down and not be angry at one another, shall we? And once we calm down, then we can talk, right? There was no possible way that Tottery would be able to keep on sinking deeper and deeper into his own anger when Deep Slaughter appealed to him with a gentle female voice like that. And there was one other factor here. The fact that Deep Slaughter was holding on to the Realize It and won the Desire. With that weapon in her hand, there was literally nothing that Tottery would be able to do against her, even if he wanted to. So for now Tottery decided to calm down and step down, waiting for whatever it would be that Deep Slaughter would have to say. Why? Why would you do it? Why would you lie like that? For what reason, huh? Why? You ask. I guess I did it mainly because I enjoy watching Sanraku-kun suffer. Or maybe not. It's not that. I mean, I enjoy watching him suffer, but it was not the reason here. I love seeing him overcome various hardships. And I just wanted to make the most of the time we could spend here together. You see, please try to understand. That's just how a maiden's heart works. For some inexplicable reason, Deep Slaughter blushed furiously after saying those words and started squirming like a little schoolgirl discussing the concepts of love. It was at that moment that Tottery started to regret from the bottom of his heart that he asked her that question. It was also at that time that Tottery finally started to realize why Sanraku was acting the way he did towards that woman. She was a snake. In the nastiest meaning of the term. Crazy. You truly are crazy. Sanraku was right about you. I know. And you don't have to tell me that. I am fully aware of the fact. It is exactly because of that fact that Deep Slaughter is able to hold her staff in her hands with such certainty, and keep on smiling. However, the nature of the smile that was creeping on her face gradually started to change now. I have no way of knowing what is Sanraku-kun going to do from now on, and I do believe that he himself has no idea about that either. And that is exactly why the magic I am going to cast right now is going to kill those two monsters at once, and Sanraku-kun with them. What did you just, huh? What was that thing that you said just now? It was not Tottery who said those words but a mule, who all of a sudden managed to bump into the conversation on his own. Seeing the little bunny appear out of nowhere and shouting at her, the smile on Deep Slaughter's lips turned utterly vicious. It was as if the current her and her from just a moment ago were two completely different persons. No need to worry, no need to worry. Back in the day we were doing things like that all the time to one another, so no matter what kind of sick, messed up or crazy thing I do to him, he usually forgives me every single time. No, 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 No. So is that the true nature of this project of yours? To basically force everyone into FF right in the middle of the raid battle? That would be quite a problem, indeed. However, Deep Slaughter took a deep breath here and asked Sanraku in a loud voice, who was just passing by them while moving at high speed. All this time, the movements of her staff did not stop and she was surely still chanting the incantation inside of her head. Hey Sanraku Qan, would you like me to make your life a whole lot more complicated than it need to be? For a few seconds out there was no response from Sanraku. There was only a cloud of dust dancing in the wind. And then the response came, coming from the woman wearing a morning dress, making dodges from the red lasers so long that it was almost wrong to call those moves dodges in the first place. Go die in a ditch or something. Okay, dully noted. Wait, what? What the fuck? Were you smoking something or what? I mean, your answer was not a clear no that I was expecting you to say. So right about now, it was not only one of the main heads and the tail head that managed to regenerate that were after Sanraku. With the exception of maybe one or two heads, everything else was aiming at the bird person, either trying to crush him with their mighty teeth or melt him away with their lasers. However, no matter how hard the Great Red Devourer was struggling, Sanraku was still way out of its reach. Chapter 354 Part 2. Chapter 354, Dragon. Part 19 Part 2. Why do you even want to take both of those monsters down? Simply because I want to, and because I can. Besides, isn't it exciting to up the challenge for yourself like that? Now then, shall we do this thing or not? Realization wand, the desire. It is a wand that creates a pair with certain other wand that is yet unknown to the players of this game. But if its stats are any indication of its power and abilities, it can be speculated that this other wand is equally as powerful, if not even more powerful. Plus, there is an added flavor to this item, or rather, the creed by which its user should behave themselves. It is something that only Deep Slaughter would know, as well as the guild master of the guild Witchark, since they are the only ones who's ever been to the shrine where the desire was placed. At that shrine, there was a certain sentence written, carved into stone, whose meaning would always accompany those who saw it. You could even call it the essence of the desire. Human desires are endless, and that is why it is always going to be close to you. Alright, now we are officially hunting for the big game here. I would say that about 20 times or so should be a good start. Saying that, Deep Slaughter started to tinker with her wand while at the same time replacing her accessories. She was doing all of it so fast that Totri was basically unable to keep track of all of her movements. But even if he was, he would be unable to comprehend why exactly she was doing all of that. At the same time, the wand in her hand started to change. Some additional elements started to appear all around it, like sparkling jewels and spinning circles. The wand itself was shining brightly, and with time, the jewels and additional elements started to float apart from one another, widening the gaps between each other as their circumference was growing wider as well. You move. Oh, what's this? Could this be? Won't you look at that? Maybe there really was a truth hidden amidst the obvious lie? No, it's not about that. Deep Slow-san, what is the specific range of the spell that you are trying to cast here? I don't know. I have set it to be 2 square meters by default. So if we were to multiply it by 20, I guess the whole area here is going to be blown to hell? We need to evacuate.
Never play fair. Friends close and enemies distant. Be free. Mind the trap. To the point. Ready for trouble. Why? Because I can. No going back. Only fools hesitate. I like it. own you. To the point.
Sure are something.
And let's go. Taking aim. I'll never miss. Only fools hesitate.
Ace.
Never play fair. Keep friends close and enemies guessing.
Evacuate everyone out of here, and we need to do it fast. You are. That was fast. Once they heard that command from Tottery, the people of the forest started to run away. It was as if they were waiting for that command to be given here. Seeing that, a truly predatory smile creeps on them.